So, everyone is talking about Abigail Spanberger's terrible performance at the Virginia gubernatorial debate last night. She refused to denounce Jay Jones and withdraw her endorsement of him. We'll get to that later in the video, but there's something else that happened that no one else seems to have picked up on. And that's the fact that the debate moderators put their thumb on the scale. They cheated in a way. What I noticed was that time and time again, they cut Winsome-Earle Sears' answers short. It wasn't just one time. It would be, understandable if that was just an accident, but for it to happen repeatedly. And then on top of that, Abigail Spanberger, her answers were allowed to go long. In fact, in many instances, the bell didn't even go off. So they were allowed 60 seconds for their initial answer, including 30 seconds for follow-up. So what I've done is I've pulled some of these clips and I've overlaid a countdown timer so that you can see that what I'm claiming is true. Now, a few seconds might not sound like a big deal. For example, 15 seconds sounds like a minuscule amount of time, but in the context of a minute, when you only have a minute to give an answer, 15 seconds cut short is 25% of your time just gone. You have no control over that. In the span of 30 seconds, 15 seconds is 50% of your rebuttal time gone. So again, a few seconds might not seem like a big deal, but when you're on a debate stage, when this is the governorship that is in question and people are relying on this debate to be informed and make the right choice, I think every second counts, and our moderators need to be held to a higher standard. So just take a look at this question when it came to energy and just notice when the bell rings during Winsome-Earle Sears' answer.
What is your idea for offsetting the high costs of data centers, energy demands, and preventing additional rate hikes for Virginians? You have 60 seconds.
So the Virginia Clean Economy Act, when it was passed, every single Democrat voted for that. Every single one. And by the way, my opponent, Abigail Spanberger, has supported it. Well, let me tell you what it did. Speaking of no energy, it took 11,000 megawatts of power immediately off the grid, Abigail, without anything to substitute for it. And all you want, again, is wind and solar. Well, it's that little thing called the technology revolution that's still happening. And it's that little thing called the, industrial revolution that's still happening. Businesses need power. What are you going to do about that? Well, let me tell you what we are doing. We have started in the Southwest a micro-reactor program to see how we can bring energy to the Southwest and make it a regional energy hub, as a matter of fact.
Ms. Earle Sears, you're out of time, but I do want to follow up there.
So you'll notice they cut her off by 16.66 percentage points of her allotted answer time. And now they did follow up, and I'm going to play that clip, but they accused her, oh, you didn't answer the question. Well, actually, she was beginning to answer the question right when you cut her off, and she still had 10 to 15 seconds left there. Obviously, her answer was phrased in such a way where she was going to go on the attack and really go after Spanberger and do a compare and contrast. This is what Spanberger is doing or failing to do. And now let me tell the viewers, let me tell the voters what I'm doing, what I plan to do. And right as she was getting to answer that question, they cut her off. So I think it's really rich that they even needed a follow-up. So they did a follow-up and they did the exact same thing again. But this time they cut off almost 50% of her time.
The question was, what is your plan for offsetting those high costs of data centers, energy demands? What is your plan for making sure Virginians don't get stuck with the bills? So 30 seconds.
So what we need is an all-of-the-above approach to energy. We need clean coal, we need oil, we need nuclear, we need natural gas, and we need, renewables. My opponent's only plan is solar and wind. Well, what happens when the sun goes down? There is nothing.
Ms. Earle Sears, we do need to move on to the next question.
All right, thank you, Deanna. We have a question tonight from a Norfolk State.
And unfortunately, like I said, that happened time and time again throughout the entire debate. So they accused her of not answering the question. When it was their fault that they cut her off, they asked her a follow-up, and as she was really diving into the specifics here, they cut her off 50% of the way through her answer. Just absolutely ridiculous. Now, the biggest controversy of the night, obviously, was Abigail Spanberger's refusal to denounce Jay Jones. She didn't even take back her endorsement of him. In case you're unfamiliar, I'm assuming everyone's heard of it by now, but Jay Jones is running to be the Attorney General of Virginia, and he sent text messages basically saying that he hopes that the former Speaker of the House would get assassinated and that his children would die in the arms of their mother. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, in a normal debate in any other state, if this were a presidential debate and one of the presidential candidates had sent those texts and were being asked about it, that would have been the first question asked, right? You usually in a debate, you want to go right to those hot topic, hot button issues. But instead, what they did was they launched a whole bunch of softball questions, and they saved Jay Jones for 7 minutes into the debate. Now, that might not seem like a big deal, but as we know from presidential debates, very few people actually watch from beginning to end. Viewership is highest at the very beginning, and people begin to tune out. They get distracted. They use the bathroom. They start handling chores. If you have kids, the kids like come in and interrupt. And so the fact that they didn't lead with Jay Jones, I think says a lot. Again, they saved that for 7 minutes into this debate. It was only 1 hour long. And then on top of that, pay attention to the time span for Abigail Spanberger. With Winsome-Earle Sears, they cut her off repeatedly. They cut her off early. But with Abigail Spanberger, just pay attention to when the bell rings, if it even rings at all.
Jay Jones has apologized and says he takes full responsibility for those messages. Ms. Spanberger, you have called the comments disgusting and said you condemn violence. The question for you tonight is, were you aware of these messages before they were released publicly, and will you continue to endorse Jay Jones as the next Attorney General of Virginia? You have 60 seconds.
The comments that Jay Jones made are absolutely abhorrent. I denounced them when I learned of them, and I will denounce them every opportunity I get. As a mother, as a public servant, as a candidate for governor, I denounce them. And it is important that candidates always denounce violence on no matter which side of the aisle. Violence, violent rhetoric, we should always be focused and forceful in our denouncement of it.
Are you going to tell him
and
to get
importantly, my opponent, unfortunately, only denounces violence when her side is the target.
Don't
I
lie
hope
like that,
into
Abigail.
the future she will endeavor to denounce violent rhetoric and violence no matter who the victim. And tonight, Lieutenant Governor Earl Sears, I will say, you routinely refer to me as your enemy.
Just please give her a chance to respond.
You routinely refer to me as your enemy. I'm not your enemy. You are not my enemy. We are political opponents, and tonight voters are here to listen to the policy differences that we have. So as we move forward, we must continue to set a good example for all of our children.
Thank you, Ms. Spanberger. I didn't hear an answer there on the endorsement issue, so I want to just make sure. Will you continue to endorse Jay Jones to be the next Attorney General of Virginia? And were you aware of these text messages before they released? You have 30 seconds.
In fact, it appears that it was those who released the text messages and held them for years. So the public was unaware who had knowledge of these text messages for many years.
What did you do about it?
I learned of these text messages the day that they came out, and I denounced them as soon as I learned of them.
She denounces murder.
And importantly, at this point, as we move forward, the voters now have this information that was withheld for them.
You're running to
presumably for political reasons. But the voters now have the information, and it is up to voters to make an individual choice based on this information.
Like I said, I wish it was a one-off, but there is just example after example throughout the entire debate. Personally, I don't think that's a coincidence. Personally, I don't think it's an accident. Like I said, if it happens once, that is understandable. These things happen live. They don't have rehearsals with everyone. Like, I get that the tech crew does rehearse in advance, but, you know, it's not as if the candidates rehearse on stage together for this debate. So a lot can go wrong live, but when the mistakes always hurt one side and they always benefit another side, it really shows that there is a pattern going here. And when there's a pattern, there's usually a cause for that. Now, despite the tilted scales, Winsome-Earle Sears was able to hold her own and really body blow Abigail Spanberger. She, I thought, did a great job and had one of the most effective moments I've ever seen in any debate. But before we get to that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are William Kaufman and MDT New. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you're here, and I thank you for your support. Well, Winsome-Earle Sears would not let this go. Keep in mind that a debate debate. I know it sounds like it's common sense, but, it is a debate between the two candidates. I think in this modern age of television, it's easy to fall into the trap of, oh, you should only answer, you should only speak when the moderator is asking you a question. I'm sorry. No, you're not debating the moderators. You're debating each other. And so what happened was Winsome took advantage of the opportunity. She used her time to actually try to engage with a back and forth with Abigail. And what happened was Abigail, she just stood there like deer in the headlights, totally unresponsive. And at some time, she even had a smirk on her face. I thought this was an extremely effective moment.
Well, I think, as everybody knows, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian before I'm a Republican, and I'm required to forgive people. And it's hard sometimes when somebody has abused you, etc., but it's something you must do, because not to forgive is almost like, as someone said, you drink poison thinking that it's going to affect the other person. And I want to live a decent life, and I don't want to not have peace in my life. And so as I've said before, I would not say that. So that's why I'm wondering why my opponent won't say, beyond it's abhorrent and disgusting, why she won't say it is not okay and that he must leave the race, because J. Jones advocated the murder, Abigail, the murder of a man, a former speaker, as well as his children who were 2 and 5 years old. You have little girls. What would it take him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail, what if he said it about your 3 children? Is that when you would say he should get out of the race, Abigail? You're running to be governor.
Just from a human perspective, like, how can you not respond to that? Does she think that it's doing her a political favor, that it's going to earn her votes by just standing there in silence? Oh, I'm above this. This is, getting in the mud. No, what's getting in the mud are the texts that J. Jones sent, the guy that you endorsed, and you're the one refusing to withdraw your endorsement. It's absolutely ridiculous. This moment also happened again. Like I said, it was brilliant. Winsome-Earle Sears just really used her time to try to engage with that back and forth. They shouldn't just engage with the moderators. I believe that during a debate, you should engage with your opponent, and the same thing happened here.
I don't understand why you just can't come forward and say he needs to go. I mean, we're talking about murder. We're talking about someone's life being taken from them. Have you nothing to say about that? Are you not going to address it? Really, you can't go any further. You're a governor. You're supposed to stand up for all the people. Are you saying political murder is all right?
Now, later in the evening, they started talking about boys dressing in girls' locker rooms, and Winsome employed the same tactic there, and I thought it was equally as effective.
So we know that biological men are larger in strength than women. We understand this. This is biology. If you look at football teams, you can see the difference between males and females. This is not hard. And that's why I'm asking my opponent, if your little girl comes home and said she was forced to undress in a locker room with a biological boy, what would you say? She's crying. What would you say? Are you not going to answer?
Ms. Earl.
Abigail, you're there to debate Winsome. Why aren't you engaging with her? You're not there to just debate the moderators. In fact, this isn't even an interview, right? Oh, I'm just going to answer the questions that the moderators give. No, that would be an interview. If you want to do an interview, go on TV, go on the mainstream media, talk to CNN or MS Now or any of these lamestream networks. Instead, when your opposition, when the person running against you is actually trying to engage you in conversation and get your point of view, you have the opportunity to not only rebut it, but explain your point of view. But no, she just stood there in silence. And honestly, I think it's because she had nothing good to say. Well, Winsome's campaign is doing brilliantly because what they did was they've already cut an ad from last night's debate footage. And I think this ad is going to be really effective, and I hope that it swings the polls.
Would it take him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail, What if he said it about your your 3 children? Is that when you would say he should get out of the race, Abigail? You're running to be governor.
Ms. Earle Sears.
I mean, we're talking about murder. We're talking about someone's life being taken from them. Have you nothing to say about that? Are you not going to address it? Really, you can't go any further. You're a governor. You're supposed to stand up for all the people. Are you saying political murder is all right? Have some political courage. What you have done is you are taking political calculations about your future as governor. Well, as governor, you have to make hard choices, and that means telling Jay Jones to leave the race.
I think that's a brilliant ad, and adding the music and then adding in, more shots of Abigail's facial responses, I think said a lot about who she is as a person and her lack of character. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So do you think that this debate changed the race in Virginia at all? If you trust the polls, Abigail Spanberger is in the lead, and she is the favorite to win. However, it does appear that the more recent polls show tightening and that Winsome is catching up. I mean, do you think this race is set in stone and that Virginia is, a solid blue state now, or do you think Winsome and the Republicans stand a chance? Let me know your thoughts, your prediction on that down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to smash that subscribe button as well as to like the video. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you. Be sure to check out one of these videos.